Since you live here, Mom, it only makes sense that you start covering our bills too. Brian said it without looking up from his phone. My daughter-in-law, Rachel, nodded like it was already decided, like it had been decided in another room, on another night, without me. I was standing at the counter, with the pot roast still warm in my hands. I had made it the way Raymond liked it, with the carrots cut long and the onions left whole. I had carried that heavy dish across the kitchen. My husband and I picked the tile for in 1974, and I set it down in the middle of the table, and I waited for someone to move a plate to make room. No one did. My name is Eleanor. I am 71 years old. My husband Raymond passed 3 years ago this April. He was the branch manager at the old Savings and Loan on 3rd Street for 31 years. And he used to say that most trouble in a family starts the day someone forgets whose name is on the paper. I did not forget. I had simply stopped saying it out loud. Brian and Rachel had moved in after the funeral. To help me, they said. So I would not be alone in such a big house, they said. And for a while I believed it, because I wanted to. A mother wants to. You barely use half the rooms, Rachel added, reaching for the potatoes. And we're the ones running the household now, the electric, the water, the internet. It adds up. We're not asking for much, Brian said. Just, you're living here, you should chip in. Living here. I looked at the salt shaker shaped like a rooster that Raymond bought me at a county fair in Ohio. I looked at the burn mark on the counter from a Thanksgiving in 1988. I looked at the window over the sink, where I had stood every morning for 46 years, and watched the light come up over the maple. Raymond planted the spring. Our son was born. I was not living here. I was home here. There is a difference. And that night, holding a serving spoon in my own kitchen, I finally felt the exact shape of it. I did not argue. I have learned that arguing with people who are counting your things only tells them how much you are willing to lose. So I sat. I served the roast. I passed the rolls. I asked my granddaughter, Sarah, about her chemistry test, and she was the only one who looked me in the eye. But something quiet had turned over inside me. Not anger. Anger still hopes to be understood. I was done hoping. I stopped being hurt somewhere between the potatoes and the pie, and I started being clear. And when I lay down that night in the bed Raymond and I had shared, I did not cry. I made a decision. In the morning, I would walk to the bank. I want to be fair, because fairness is the only thing I have left that no one can take. So let me tell you, it did not start with the bills. It started small, the way these things do. The first winter, Rachel repainted the living room without asking me. A grey that made the whole house feel like a waiting room. She said the old wallpaper was dated. That was the word. Dated. As if the roses Raymond and I hung together were something to be embarrassed about. I told myself she was young and wanted a fresh start. I told myself it was only paint. Then came the second year. Brian took Raymond's truck. Not stole it. Nothing so simple. He just started driving it. Said mine was sitting there anyway. Said it made sense for him to have the bigger vehicle for his work. I still have the key to that truck on my ring. I had simply stopped being the one who used it. I told myself he was busy. I told myself a truck is only a truck. Then came the account. 6 months after Raymond died, Brian sat me down at this same table with a kind voice and a stack of my own mail. He said the bills were confusing, that I shouldn't have to worry about them in my grief, that if I just added him to the household checking account, he could handle everything. Pay the water, pay the gas, take the load off. That's what family does, Mom, he said. So I signed. I let them put his name on the signature card at Raymond's own bank. And I told myself the same 3 things I always told myself. They are grieving too. They mean well. Raymond would want us to lean on each other. That is the danger of a soft heart. It will explain away almost anything to keep from being alone. I had been telling myself those little stories for 3 years, painting them, driving them, signing them, and I never once put them side by side. Until the night Brian told me to cover their bills, and my mind laid all 3 moments out on the table like a hand of cards. The paint, the truck, the account. They had not been separate kindnesses I gave. They had been practice, and I had been the one they were practicing on. I did not sleep much that night, so I was up before anyone. I came down to start the coffee and sort the mail, the way I had every morning for 46 years, and I reached into the basket by the toaster, where it always landed. My bank statement was near the bottom, still sealed. I had not been opening them lately. Grief makes you trust the people who say they'll handle it. And sitting on top of the whole stack, holding my own mail down like a paperweight, was a folder that was not mine. Brian had left it on the counter. He is careless that way. He had always assumed no one would move his things, because for 3 years, no one had. I only picked it up to reach my statement underneath. It fell open in my hands. It was a plain manila folder with a bank logo. I knew well, because my Raymond had worn that logo on his lapel pin for 31 years. Inside was a letter addressed to Brian. And a second page, a pre-printed application half filled in. Home equity line of credit. The property address at the top was mine. This house. My house. And beside it, in Brian's blocky handwriting, an estimated value and a number he wanted to borrow against it. $30,000. Clipped behind it was a page in Rachel's neat little print. Budget, she had headed it, and underlined it twice. New roof, porch railing, repaint the exterior. Set aside for Mom's care. Line after sensible line, every number wearing a kind face. If I had found only that page, I might have believed it. I might have thought, well, at least they mean to fix the gutters. At least some of it was meant for me. But there was a sticky note on top, in the same neat print, and that one was never meant for my eyes. Ask about getting Mom to sign as owner Brian says she won't read it. I stood in my nightgown in the cold kitchen, and I read that sentence 3 times. She won't read it. I set the folder down very gently, the way you set down something that might go off. My hands were steady. I have noticed that about myself. When the hurt gets big enough, it goes quiet, and the quiet is very calm and very sure. They were not just asking me to pay their bills. They were planning to borrow against the roof over my head, and they had already decided I was too foolish, too old, too grief-soft to notice. Somewhere in those 3 years, without one honest conversation, they had quietly recast me. Not the owner, not even the mother, just the old woman who happened to live here. I made coffee. I drank it standing up. And at 9 o'clock, when the branch opened, I put on my good coat and Raymond's old scarf, and I walked the 11 blocks to the bank on 3rd Street. I did not call ahead. I did not bring Brian. I walked in alone, and I asked to speak with the manager. Her name is Carol. She started as a teller under Raymond in the 90s. She came around the desk when she saw me and held both my hands. Eleanor, what brings you in? I laid the folder on her desk, and I asked her one question. Carol, can my son borrow money against my house? She opened the folder. She read the sticky note. I watched her face change, the way a professional's face changes when they are careful not to say the first thing that comes to mind. Then she pulled up something on her screen, and she looked at me over her glasses, and she said the sentence that started everything. Eleanor, he already tried. 2 weeks ago, we turned him down. He tried, I repeated. He came in and asked about a line of credit on the property, Carol said. I told him myself. He isn't on the deed. He has no ownership interest. He can't borrow $1 against a house that isn't his. She turned her screen toward me. Eleanor, you are the sole owner. You have been since Raymond passed. There is no co-owner, no lien, no recorded claim, nothing. I sat back in the chair. For 3 years, I had let a man live in my house who had gone behind my back to a bank and been told, by name, that the house was not his. And then he came home to my dinner table and told me to pay his bills as if I were the guest. There's more, Carol said gently, because she was Raymond's girl and she did not believe in half-truths. She pulled the statements on the household checking account, the one I had added Brian to help. She turned it so I could see 3 years of it. I want to be honest about what I felt, looking at those numbers. It was not rage. Rage would have been easier. It was a slow, clear, cold, like stepping out onto a porch in January. There were charges I never made. A sporting goods store, a cruise deposit, Rachel's nail salon every other Friday, like clockwork, restaurant after restaurant. My grocery money, my utility money, my Raymond's careful pension, running out through a card with my son's name on it. A record does not argue, I said quietly. It just waits. Carol nodded. What do you want to do, Eleanor? I looked at her a long moment. Raymond used to say that the most powerful words in banking were not yes or no. They were not without her signature. He built his whole life on the idea that a person's name meant a person's say. I want to find out exactly what is mine, I said, and then I want to decide who gets to touch it. All of it. Today. Carol reached for a fresh legal pad. Then let's start with the account he's on, she said. Because you can take him off it right now, this morning. You don't need his permission. It's your name first on the card. Take him off, I said. She slid the signature form across the desk. I read every line. Then I picked up the pen, and for the first time in 3 years, I signed my own name for myself and not for someone else's convenience. Brian's access ended at 9:41 in the morning. He did not know yet. That was fine. He would learn the way I had learned everything lately, by finding out too late that the paper had already moved. Now, I said, I'd like to close this account entirely and open a new one. My name only. And I want the online access reset so the login he uses stops working. Done, Carol said, already typing. And Carol, I said, when Raymond set things up all those years ago, was there a lawyer he worked with? For the will, the house? Walter Bishop, she said without hesitation. Same office he's always been in, over on Elm. Eleanor, if you're going where I think you're going, Walter is exactly who you want to see. And I'll tell you something else. She stopped typing and folded her hands. About a year before Raymond passed, he came in here and moved things around. Made sure the house was titled clean in both your names with survivorship. Made sure this account listed you first. I asked him why, and he said, she stopped, and her eyes were bright. He said, Carol, I've watched my boy for 40 years. I don't think he's bad, but I think he's weak, and weak plus a pushy wife is a thing a mother shouldn't have to fight alone. I just want Ellie to have her choices when I'm not there to hand them to her. I sat with that. My husband had not known this exact morning would come. He had not written a prophecy. He had simply spent 40 years watching a pattern and worrying, and quietly making sure the doors would open when I finally decided to walk through them. He did not build me a trap for my son. He built me a set of keys, and he trusted me to know when to use them. He worried, I said. He worried about you, Carol said. He never told me what you should do. He just wanted you to be able to do it. I stood. I buttoned my coat. The new account was mine, my name, and only my name, the way Raymond's whole life had insisted it should be. Thank you, Carol. I have one more stop to make. The account had been the easy part. A card, a signature, a login reset before 10 in the morning. But the account was never what they were really after. They had been looking at the house, the walls, the roof, the deed, with only my name on it, and for that, I needed the one man Raymond had trusted with the things that can never be undone. Walter Bishop's office smelled like old paper and coffee, and Walter himself was nearly 80, with a green blotter on his desk that I suspect predated me. He remembered Raymond in the first 10 seconds and grieved him all over again for the next 30. Then he listened. I told him about the dinner, the folder, the sticky note, the account. I did not embroider it. I did not need to. He wrote as I talked, and when I finished, he took off his glasses. "Eleanor," he said, "Raymond and I set up more than you may realize. He left you a foundation, but he left the building to you. Understand me, I can prepare any document you want. Only you can decide whether to sign it." That was his instruction to me, in writing. Never let anyone decide for her, not even you, Walter. So I decided. I asked him first about the power of attorney. Years ago, in a soft moment, I had signed one naming Brian, in case I got sick, in case I couldn't manage. Walter pulled it from the file, and then he paused over it. "Eleanor," he said carefully, "were you aware your son brought this to the recorder's office last spring?" He asked whether it let him sign on the property. "It doesn't. That was never what you gave him. They turned him away. But he tried. I had not known. I had spent all of last spring believing Brian was distant because he was grieving. He had not been grieving. He had been measuring. "Revoke it," I said. He drew up the revocation. I read every word. I signed it, and Walter notarized it. And just like that, the authority I had handed my son on a day I was afraid dissolved into nothing. He would receive written notice. It would be certified. There would be no confusion. "A signature you gave in fear," I said. "You are allowed to take back in peace." Next, the house. Walter confirmed what Carol had shown me. Sole owner, clean deed, no lien, no co-owner, no recorded claim. But I did not want it merely clean. I wanted it protected, so that no soft moment of mine, no pushy voice at my table, could ever put it at risk again. "I want to put the house in a trust," I said, "with me keeping the right to live here and control it for the rest of my life." And after me, I paused, and I felt Raymond in the room. After me, it goes to my grandchildren, equally. Held for them until each of them turns 25. Not to Brian, not to Rachel. Walter's pen did not slow. "A life estate for you. Remainder to the grandchildren in trust," he said. "And a neutral trustee to manage it, so none of the adults can pressure a child. Do you have someone in mind?" "Sarah," I said. "My granddaughter. She's 16 now. Name her successor trustee when she's old enough, not a bigger share, mind you. She and her little brother Danny split everything down the middle even. Sarah just holds the keys. There's a difference between owning a thing and watching over it, and she's the one who understands that. She's the only one who looks me in the eye." "A fine choice," Walter said. "And your will?" "Update it," I said, "to match. And my beneficiary forms. The life insurance, the small annuity Raymond left, all of it, to the grandchildren, in trust, held until 25, equal shares." We worked through the whole morning. Each page did something. Each page closed a door someone had been quietly leaving open. I did not feel powerful signing them. That is the thing people misunderstand. I felt accurate, like I was finally writing down the truth, where no one could paint over it, or drive it away, or borrow against it in the dark. There was one more document, and Walter slid it across last and set it down carefully. "This one is a notice," he said, "to Brian and Rachel. You have every legal right to decide who lives in your home and on what terms. You can ask them to pay fair rent. Or you can ask them to leave with proper notice. Or both rent now and leave by a date. It's your house, Eleanor. It's entirely your call." I looked at that blank space where the terms would go. I thought about Sarah, who called it Grandma's house, and Brian, who had started calling it ours. "Prepare it," I said. "Give them until the end of next month. Fair rent until then. And if they'd rather not pay it," I picked up the pen, "then they can find a house that's actually theirs." I signed. In my own hand. On the wooden desk where my husband had once sat planning how to keep me safe, from this exact morning without ever being able to name it. Love may forgive, I said, mostly to myself. But a deed remembers. Walter walked me to the door, and then he stopped, and he went back to his cabinet. There's one more thing, he said. Raymond left it with me. He said, if Ellie ever comes in here alone, angry or sad or scared, and she signs even one of these papers by herself, give her this. Not before. He handed me a plain white envelope, soft at the edges from years in a drawer. My name was on the front in Raymond's handwriting. Ellie. Only he ever called me that. I did not open it in the office. I could not. I walked home the long way, past the church and the school and the shuttered savings and loan, where Raymond had gone to work every morning for 31 years. And I sat down on my own front porch in the cold, in the chair Raymond used to read the paper in. And I opened my husband's letter. Ellie, if you are reading this with Walter beside you, then something has happened that I could not fix from here. I want to say the important thing first, before anything else. This is not your fault. Whatever they said to you, whatever they did, you did not cause it by being kind. I have watched our boy a long time. I love him. I also know him. He takes the easy road, and he married a woman who is very good at pointing to it. I used to lie awake, wondering what would become of you if I went first, and there was no one at the table to say no on your behalf. So I made sure the no would already be written down, not so I could decide for you. I never could, and I never wanted to. Only so that when the day came, you would have every door already unlocked, and all you would have to do is choose. Please, Ellie, do not confuse peace with surrender. You have spent your whole life making room for people until there was barely a chair left for you. You are allowed to take the chair back. You are allowed to lock a door and still love the person on the other side of it. Ask every question, read every page, sign only what gives you rest. And know that whatever you decide, I am proud of you. I always was. You were never the soft one, Ellie. You were the strong one who chose to be gentle. There is a difference, and I hope by now you can feel it. Yours, always, at the kitchen table, Raymond. I sat with that letter for a long time as the afternoon went grey. I did cry, but not the way I had cried at his funeral, hollowed out and afraid. I cried the way you cry, when someone finally says the thing you needed to hear, 3 years too late and right on time. He had not known. He had only worried. And his worry had built me a whole quiet house of choices and left the lights on inside. I folded the letter and put it in my coat pocket, over my heart, and I went inside to wait for my son. They came home at 6. I was at the kitchen table. The certified letter sat in front of me in its envelope. I had made tea because I wanted my hands warm. Rachel came in first, already talking. Then Brian. Sarah slipped in behind them and stood by the doorway, watching. Mom, my card got declined at the gas station, Brian said, half laughing, half not. There's something wrong with the account. I've been on hold for... There's nothing wrong with the account, I said. I closed it this morning. You're not on the new one. The kitchen went quiet. Rachel recovered first. She always did. Eleanor, she said, in the patient voice she used for me, I know how it looks. But that money was going to fix the roof. It leaks over the back bedroom. You've seen the stain and put something aside in case you ever needed care. It was for the house. It was for you, honestly. We've put so much into this place. You didn't want to fix the roof, Rachel, I said. You wanted to borrow against it. There is a difference, and you knew it, because you wrote both down on the same page. I kept my voice as level as the tabletop. Both of you went to the bank. You tried to borrow $30,000 against my house, and when they told you it wasn't yours to borrow against, you came home and told me to pay your bills. Brian's face went white. Mom, that was just an inquiry. I was going to talk to you. She won't read it, I said. The words hung there. Rachel's own handwriting, spoken back to her in my kitchen. That's what your wife wrote, Brian, on the note. She won't read it. And you left me the folder because you believed her. I looked at my son, and I kept my voice as level as the tabletop. I read it. I read all of it. Mom, his voice cracked. It's not you don't understand. We're struggling, and this is going to be ours eventually anyway. So I just thought, there it is, I said quietly. Rachel tried once more, sharp now. After everything we do for you, living here, taking care of you, you'd rather be alone in this big empty house. I stood up, not fast. I set my teacup down without a sound. This house was never empty, I said. I was still in it. You just stopped counting me as someone who lived here. I picked up the certified letter and I held it out. Brian didn't take it, so I set it on the table between us. That's from my attorney. You can pay fair rent through the end of next month while you find a place, or you can go sooner. Either way, by the last day of next month, you'll be sleeping in a home that's actually yours. The house is in a trust now. When I'm gone, it goes to the grandchildren, held for them until they're grown. It will never be borrowed against. It will never be sold out from under anyone. It is safe. I looked at Rachel. From all of us. Rachel started to speak, and I lifted one hand, gently, the way you quiet a room, not the way you strike it. Then I turned to my son, and this was the hardest part, because I do love him, and love does not make you blind. It only makes the seeing hurt more. Rachel wanted the house, Brian. I understand that. People want things. But you're the one who sat beside her while she called it empty, with me still in it. You're the one who let her write that I wouldn't read. That part is yours. I'm not going to pretend it isn't. He reached for me. Mom, I'm sorry, I believe you, I said, and I did. But some apologies need to be held a while before they can be answered. This one does. I did not slam a door. I did not need to. I simply picked up my teacup and walked to the sink and turned on the warm water and watched the yard go blue and quiet in the last of the light. Behind me, the kitchen emptied out, one heavy footstep at a time. The door I closed that night was not made of wood. Sarah did not leave with them. She stood in the doorway a while, and then she came and sat at the table, in the chair that had been mine at every dinner, and she folded her hands like her grandfather used to. Grandma, she said, I heard what Mom said that night about the bills, and I heard it before that too. I didn't know how to stop it, but I knew it was wrong. I sat down across from her. You're 16, I said. It was never yours to stop. I should have said something to you. You looked at me, I said, at the table, when no one else would. You have no idea what that was worth. She was quiet a moment. Then she said, Can I ask you something about Grandpa? Anything. Was he really a banker for 31 years? Dad makes it sound boring, but you say it like it means something. I laughed, and it surprised me how good it felt. Sit down, I said. I'll make us grilled cheese, and I'll tell you about the man who spent his whole life making sure your grandmother would never have to ask anyone's permission to be safe. I made 2 sandwiches in the cast-iron pan. Raymond bought me the year we married. Sarah ate hers with the crusts on, the way he did. And we talked until the kitchen was dark, except for the light over the stove. And for the first time in 3 years, the house did not feel like something being taken from me. It felt like something I was handing forward. When you're older, I told her, there's going to be a job I'd like you to have, watching over this place. For the little ones, and whoever comes after. Not owning it, watching over it, there's a difference. Like Grandpa did for you, she said. I had not thought of it that way. But she was right. Yes, I said, exactly like that. Brian and Rachel moved out at the end of the following month. They did not pay the rent. They found an apartment across town, and Rachel, I'm told, does not mention me at all now, which is its own kind of relief. Brian calls on Sundays, short calls, careful ones. He does not ask for anything, which is new. Last week he called it your house instead of the house, and he did not seem to notice he had, but I did. I have learned that healing sometimes shows up as one changed word from a man who used to know better. The home equity folder went in the wood stove. I fed it in one page at a time and warmed my hands on it. Sarah comes every Saturday. We garden. This spring we planted marigolds along the front walk, and I let her pick the colour. I also had the locks changed, the same week. And I do not think one of those things cancels out the other. A person can lock a door and plant flowers on the same afternoon. That is the whole trick of a life, really. I took the truck key off my ring, too, and started driving it again. Raymond's old pickup, sitting in my own driveway, registered in my name the whole time. I had let someone else decide it was theirs. It runs a little rough. I have found I like the sound of it. The trust papers are in the safe deposit box now, at Carol's bank, under my name and Walter's care. Safe. Waiting. Not arguing. I take a watercolour class on Thursdays. I am terrible at it. I love it. Tonight I am sitting where I always sit, at the wooden kitchen table. Raymond and I bought second-hand in 1972, in the chair that is mine. The house is quiet, the way a house is quiet when it belongs to you. I keep a small notebook now, on the table by the salt shaker shaped like a rooster. I write one line in it most nights. Nothing grand, just the truest thing I can find that day. Tonight, I wrote. They told me I lived here, as if I were a guest in my own life. The deed knew better. So, in the end, did I? Sometimes dignity does not arrive with shouting. Sometimes it walks 11 blocks to the bank on a cold morning, signs its own name, and comes home to make grilled cheese for the one grandchild who never stopped looking it in the eye. Out the window, Raymond's maple is just starting to leaf out. The porch light is on. The chair beside me is empty, but my house is full, and my name is on every page that matters. I turn off the light over the stove, and I go to bed in the room that was always mine.